Welcome to Guide to IELTS. In this video, we'll discuss how to go through your reading passage quickly. So before we start, there are certain basic punctuation marks and different types of words that we need to be able to identify so as to understand how we can use this knowledge to read through a passage quickly. First, proper nouns. Names of something in particular. Usually, name of a person, a place, a university. The way to identify proper nouns is that they're capitalized. That is, their first letter is in uppercase. A few examples are on your screen. The proper nouns are in red color. All the examples used in this video are from Cambridge IELTS Books 13, General and Academic. Next is italicized words. That is, when the font is a little bent towards the right. Italics are sometimes used just to emphasize on certain words, but a lot of times they just refer to terms or scientific names. Again, examples are on your screen. Next, inverted commas. Once again, sometimes inverted commas are used just to emphasize a word. The first sentence is an example in which approach is highlighted with inverted commas just to emphasize it. However, a lot of times inverted commas are also used for terms such as mud dragon, your words. Identifying these terms make it easier to search for content when you're doing your reading passages. Next, dashes. There are two types of dashes, N dash and M dash. We don't need to go into the details of it, but dashes are basically little longer than hyphens. We use hyphens to connect two words. A couple of examples are here on your screen. So hyphenated words are just normal words. However, when dashes are used, that is a little longer hyphens, they need to be noticed because they are usually used to give add-on information in a sentence. Similar to dashes is another punctuation mark, colon, usually used to write a list, and also brackets, which are again used to give add-on information. These are important because usually the information given after the dashes, after the colon, should not be read when you're just skimming through the passage or when you're trying to get just the gist of the passage. This information only needs to be read when you feel that there could be an answer there. So after reading the question, if you feel the need to read a sentence more thoroughly, then you go into the information which is after a dash or a colon. The first thing you do whenever you start reading a passage, read the heading and the subheading. This may seem as a very basic thing, but it makes a difference. Read the heading. If there's a subheading, read that also. Use a little imagination. Before you start on with the passage, use what is written in the heading and subheading to understand what it is about. Next, to get the gist and the structure of the passage, read the beginning and ending of each paragraph. Basically, the gist of the passage is summary of what all is there, and the structure of the passage tells you which paragraph contains what information and what is the sequence of that information. This is a passage taken from Cambridge IELTS Book 13 Academic. Before we start, we read the heading, which is Case Study Tourism New Zealand website. Just from this, we know that it is about a website which is about New Zealand tourism. I'll read through the beginning and ending of each paragraph with you. So there are a few things I take care of when I'm doing this. One, I avoid reading any proper nouns. If there is a name, could be a place or a person, I don't read it. I just glance at it. There's a name, fine. The name doesn't really matter. Also, if there is any information between two dashes or just following a dash, I usually skip that information. That is add-on information. While you're trying to get the gist of the passage, you need to just understand what the basic sentence is. So the very first sentence is, New Zealand is a small country of 4 million inhabitants, a long-haul flight from... So I'm going to stop here. It just mentions about New Zealand and maybe it's far off from most of the places. Then I skip down to the ending of it. Exhilarating outdoor activities and authentic Maori culture, and it made New Zealand one of the strongest national brands in the world. Maori is capitalized. The M is in uppercase. It's name of a culture. So obviously, it's a word I won't know the meaning of. Similarly, exhilarating. You may not know the meaning of the word exactly, but it's an adjective used before outdoor activities. It is just description of outdoor activities, what kind of outdoor activities there are. We don't need to focus on the little details. We don't have to worry about the big words if we don't understand them. Just by reading the first and last sentence, I know it is an introduction of how big New Zealand is, how many people live there, and it ends with the culture of New Zealand and how it has become a strong national brand across the world. The second paragraph now. A key feature of the campaign was the website. Now we already know that the first paragraph was just introduction to New Zealand. It is only from the second paragraph that the website is being talked about. I'll just stop here. I won't read the rest of the sentence. On to the end of the second paragraph now. As part of this, the effect of each business on the environment was considered. Now I have two options. I can read the sentence before this, trying to make sense of as part of what. But as a rule, I don't do that. What I do sometimes is that I glance at whatever is in the middle. Something like skimming through it a little, but not in too much detail. So if I glance through this paragraph, I see certain words like maybe database, then tourism related business, bread and breakfast. So just by glancing at it, I get an idea that this paragraph is talking about different features of tourism, maybe about hotels, but I won't go into too much detail. The third paragraph now. To communicate the New Zealand experience, the site also carried features relating to famous people and places. The ending of this paragraph. The site catalogued the most famous driving routes in the country, highlighting different routes. Again, I'm not going to read the rest of the sentence, got the basic idea. Next paragraph. Later, a travel planner feature was added, which allowed visitors to click and bookmark places. I'm going to stop here, but two things I've noticed are, one, travel planner has T and P in uppercase and bookmark is in quotation marks. T and P capitalized means that this is a proper noun. There won't be a synonym of this if it is mentioned in the questions. End of this paragraph. The website also had a Your Word section where anyone can submit their blog. Once again, your words, Y and W are in capitals. They are also in inverted commas, something that I would keep in mind. Next, the Tourism New Zealand website won 2 awards. I'm not reading the name of the award. It's a small word, webby, so it doesn't matter much, but sometimes these proper nouns are very big words. We don't want to be distracted by them. Ending of the paragraph. New Zealand grew at an average annual rate of whatever compared to something else. The numbers and the years, again, I'm not reading carefully. It's some comparison between New Zealand and Britain. We'll focus on it only if it is part of some of our questions. Last 2 paragraphs now. The website was set up to allow both individuals and travel organizations to create itineraries and travel packages. I'm going to stop here. Ending. It appears that visitors to New Zealand don't want to be one of the crowd and find activities that involve only a few people. The last paragraph. It could be argued that New Zealand is not a typical destination. Ending. However, the underlying lessons apply everywhere. Now there's a dash here. This basically means that after the dash, there is the add-on information, which can be skipped if we want. So there's an underlying lesson. The lesson is explained here. So if I quickly go through just reading the first and last sentence, what do I already know? The beginning first paragraph is introduction to New Zealand, how many people live there, what kind of a place it is, its culture. Second paragraph on, we have information about the website. In the beginning, it's something about bed and breakfast and hotels and different features of tourism. Then it talks about some famous people and also the driving routes. There is something about a travel planner and a Your Word section. There is some award which was won. And finally, the last 2 paragraphs talk about itineraries, about how people looked at New Zealand as a different kind of a destination. And the last paragraph is kind of a conclusion similar to the introduction because it doesn't seem to be talking about the website. Again, it is talking about New Zealand and how it is not a typical destination, etc. What we need to keep in mind is that the passages we get in IELTS reading are very well written passages. They have a proper structure, proper paragraphs. If we are able to get into the habit of reading the beginning and ending of each paragraph, practice it a little, keep little things like proper nouns, dashes, colons, etc. in mind, it can really help us understand the basic idea of the passage very quickly. Next, we come to what do we do when we are trying to get the gist of each paragraph. This would be especially needed when we are working on list of headings. Obviously, it would help otherwise also, maybe if we are looking for answers to fill in the blanks, to true, false, not given, etc. But they are especially helpful for list of headings. Now, when we are trying to get the gist of the whole paragraph, obviously we have to read through each paragraph. Just the first and last sentence doesn't work. In that case also, what I do is I start reading each sentence. Wherever I feel I've gotten a vague idea of what the sentence is saying, I may avoid reading the rest of it. So again, I'm going to start reading the passage. New Zealand is a small country of 4 million inhabitants, a long haul flight from. So I'm glancing at the rest of the sentence, something of the world. Next sentence. Tourism currently makes up 9% of the country's gross domestic product. Again, I'm going to stop here. Unlike other export sectors, now this is part of the practice of speed reading. Dashes are easier to identify, but sometimes there are parts of a sentence which begin and end with a comma, which can be skipped when you're just reading through the passage, because even when we eliminate them, the sentence still makes sense. So in this case, I'm not going to read this part, which makes products whatever. So unlike other export sectors, tourism brings its customers to New Zealand. The product is the country itself. Again, after the dash, I'm going to ignore. In 1999, Tourism New Zealand launched a campaign to communicate a new brand position to the world. The campaign focused on scenic beauty, outdoor activities. Got the basic idea. Similarly, when trying to read the second paragraph, a key feature of the campaign was the website, which provided potential visitors. I'm going to skip the rest of it. The heart of the website was a database of tourism service operators based in New Zealand outside. So I'm going to just read the parts which give me an idea of what the basic meaning is. Any tourism related business could be listed. This meant that even the smallest bed and breakfast address could gain a web presence. In addition, the information provided remained accurate, maintain and improve standards. So I'm just reading parts of each sentence. So speed reading, when we are talking about finding answers, is not about reading every single word, understanding every single word. It is about the technique of reading the right words and ignoring the rest. Try doing this on your own. Do write in the comment section whether it worked or not. If it did not work, mention which book you used the passage from. We'll try to make a video using that passage. Very soon we'll work on a video about keywords, how to identify them, and how to use these keywords to find answers. Bye for now. All the very best.